gentlemen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My pleasure to welcome all of you to this political debate organized by the Abia Media Roundtable, an organization that was set up by broadcasting organizations operating in Abia State for the purpose of, among other things, to organize political debates this season of politics. As you know, we are in a democracy, and democracy places sovereignty on the people. The people, as a matter of rights, has or have the sovereignty. And so this sovereignty makes it possible for the people to choose who should lead them. It is the entitlement of the people to make that choice. And you hand over in trust the leadership of society to a few people. It is your right and my right as citizens to ensure that these people who decide to come out to lead all of us are accountable. We must hold them accountable. We must know how they intend to lead us. The era of people coming to make promises and just get away with those promises is over. That era is no longer with us. Am I right? Because I know that all of us have become politically conscious. And that is the essence of this gathering today. The Abia Media Roundtable, made up of MCLtv, NTA Aba, Buzz FM Aba, Magic FM Aba, ARC TV, Ibere Online TV, and the Popular Broadcasting Service, PBS. These are the broadcasting organizations that are behind this event today. And so it is on behalf of these organizations that I welcome you to this political debate for members or for candidates seeking to go into the National Assembly, namely the House of Representatives and the Senate. We're expecting that the following candidates will be here today. Some are already here, but for our information, Chief Uzo Azubike, represent the candidate for PDP for Aba South and North Federal constituency, is already here. I also understand that Chief Charles Wangwa, the candidate of ABGA for Obingwa, Osisioma, Ugunabo Federal constituency, is here. I also know that we're expecting Engineer Steve Ochoma Arochukwu from Hafia Federal constituency for UPP. Jude Udachara, the PDP candidate for Isukwato Umunochi Federal constituency, will soon be here. But while we wait for these candidates to come, we are going to take up because time is no longer on our side. Those who are here will start with them. When others come, they will join. But remember, keeping to time tells a whole lot about your personality, isn't it? Very well. And that being the case, let us set the ground rules for this event. Let us set the ground rules for this event. We will not allow any noise when we start formally. There will be no noise. This hall should be quiet so that if a pin drops, we can hear the sound. We will not like any distractions of any such, in whatever form. No distractions, no clapping. Even when the candidate is making a whole lot of sense, please restrict yourself from clapping. No applause of whatever form. No booing, no shouting, no hailing. Just remain calm. Take your paper, jot down whatever you feel you need to jot down. There will be time for break so that you can ease yourself. We have conveniences around. If you move up there and descend the staircase to your left, you'll find a convenience there. If you go out right round, go to the pool side, there's a convenience there. And if you go to the main bar, there's convenience there. We have one entry to this place. That's up there. This side entry is restricted. We won't allow anybody to go through here. And if for any reason you want to leave, just do that quietly through the exit behind us. So once again, no hooting, no booing. Each candidate will be given time to make his or her presentation. Please remember, we must be disciplined. We must be disciplined. May I repeat, no clapping, no booing, no hooting. Just remain calm and observe. When there's time, we'll create time for questions from the floor. When that time comes, you'll be given an opportunity to ask your questions. Having said that, may I formally introduce the moderators of this event. Join me to welcome Ogechi Ike Uzohu. Ogechi, are you there? Please rise for recognition. And applause this time. Just the applause, you just do it now. After this, no more. Applause for Ogechi, please. Are you there? Please give her an applause. Exercise it now, because you may never have the opportunity again. Thank you. Ogechi is of the PBS, Popular Broadcasting Service, Aba. Also join me to welcome Bonnie Onogu. But I hope I got that name. I tried. Bonnie Onogu. Bonnie, can you rise? The big man. Aha. An applause for Bonnie. Bonnie is of Magic FM. Abba. And our timekeeper for this event is James Emme. James. James is of Ibere Online Television. And I am yours sincerely, Chimdi Oluoha. You may clap for me if you like. Thank you. Yes. Just an interlude, and we'll welcome the guests who are already here. I'm seeing some faces that I know, but I need to confirm and welcome them formally. Ladies and gentlemen, recall I told you that we'll go ahead with the candidates who are already here. When the others come, they can join. Please join me to welcome to the stage Chief Uzo Azubike, the candidate of PDP representing Aba South and North Federal Constituency. Please also make welcome to the stage Chief Charles Wangwa, the ABGA candidate, Obiangwa, Osisioma Ugunabo Federal Constituency. Are you not seeing what I'm seeing? An applause for that, please. That's a new face of democracy in Nigeria, isn't it? Another applause for them. Thank you. Thank you. You've exercised your rights over clapping. It's over. I am now handing over this microphone to the moderators. They will now give the rules to the candidates and how they intend to ask the questions, the duration of answering the questions, and all that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Simply Mr. Chimdi Oluoha. I think for doing that simply, we have to also give you a round of applause. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my pleasure to take care of this task. And the task is simple as well, that the candidates, when they are talking on their manifestos, will be given 5 minutes each. The subsequent questions, they'll be answering just for 3 minutes. As you are hitting the limit of the time given to you, the bell will ring as a sign that you are getting to your limit, after which we do implore you to respect the timings. The questions will be directed at each candidate. Every single question will be directed at each candidate. So after answering your own, the other candidate will answer. We also implore you to be as civil as possible and as democratic as possible, such that we don't have foul language, we don't have inciting language, we don't have insults, because if nothing else, we are live on air. And you represent us, even as candidates, so you should be the example that we have to follow. We thank you so very much. We assure you that it won't be too long because we don't have too many questions. But it's important that you face the people that you are contesting to lead or represent. So it's my pleasure on behalf of my co-anchor and the timekeeper to welcome you again, honorable gentlemen, Right Honorable Uzo Azubike, Ijiriji Abba, and of course, Honorable Chief Charles Wangwa, the Akajugo. You're welcome. I'll start with Right Honorable Uzo Azubike. Please, when we ask you, you go to the podium so that our people will see you clearly. The podium is ready for you. And I know both of you are used to that already. First, before you go into your manifesto, please, we want to hear who you are from your own mouths. We do not want to do it for you. So please tell us about yourself and then give a rundown of your manifesto. And after that, Chief Charles Wangwa will, take his turn. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My names are Right Honorable Uzo Azubike Ijiriji Abangwa Bache Ndengwa Osisi eji mara mba Ọnụna mba Azoko Enye ọha ndị Item, so on and so forth. I am the PDP candidate for the Aba North and Aba South Federal Constituency in the forthcoming general elections holding, by the grace of God, on the 16th day of February 2019, and that is in the next few days. I was a councillor in MCLtv North that represented Umona Sulu Ward. I was secretary to Aba North local government. I was honorable member that represented Aba Central State Constituency in the Abia State House of Assembly, who rose to the rank of Deputy Speaker of that house. I was member that represented Aba North and Aba South Federal Constituency in the National Assembly, 2011 to 2015, and privileged in that house to be chairman of one of the 4 special committees of the House, the Committee on Public Petitions. I am married to my wife, and I have 4 children. By birth, a native of Umosunsulu in MCLtv North local government area, now fully domiciled in Umuola, Opolo, in Aba North local government area, where I have done all my political activities, and from where I have attained all the political heights and positions that I ever occupied. That is my person, a Christian by religion, a lawyer by profession, and an agriculturist agronomist by practice. I have offered myself to go to the Green Chambers of the National Assembly to represent the people of Aba North and Aba South Federal Constituency. I made this offer the first time in 2010-2011, following the challenges that we had in that time in our constituency. The challenge we had was that for 8 years, the constituency had a representative who for one day did not raise his voice in the floor of that house to make any contribution, and knowing fully well that in the legislative house is your ability to make contributions in discussions and in dialogues that determines what you eventually attract to your constituency. And my slogan then was, Aba must talk, Aba must be heard. And all I promised the people of Aba then was that upon my arrival in that great chambers, the voice of Aba would be heard loud and clear. And to all who followed events then between 2011 and 2015, that promise was fulfilled even beyond my own expectation. The fulfillment of such promise did not stop at Aba being heard on a daily basis in the course of deliberations, but through those positive contributions to attract numerous what our people call today dividends of democracy to the constituency. Upon my arrival in that house, contrary to the standing, to the norm or tradition, as a first-time member, a non-ranking member, I was made chairman of a committee. The normal thing is that chairmanship of committees are reserved for ranking members. But following my antecedents, having been a member of State House of Assembly, and looking at my curriculum vitae, and the discharge of my functions in the State House of Assembly, then as chairman of House Committee on Judiciary and Administration of Justice, that house was confident to put me in the position of chairman of the House Committee on Public Petitions. Following my activities in that house, I was able to attract a plethora of dividends to the constituency. Starting with my greatest area of interest in power, that is job creation, youth empowerment, promotion of education. I was able to do so much on that area. Okay, thank you. In terms of job creation, I was able to secure federal employment for 126 graduates within the period of 2011 to 2015. In educational empowerment, I was able to do 5 major projects in the highest institution in my constituency, and that is the Abia State Polytechnic, Aba. I was able to secure 4 overseas scholarships, federal government overseas scholarships for members of my constituency. I will continue from where I stopped later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Uzo Azubike. But we need to emphasize that you've only told us what you had been. We are still going to ask you, because if those formed your manifesto at the time, you're quite likely going to dust it up and make it more dynamic with some fresh things, which you may have to tell us when you come to the podium again. It is our honor and pleasure again to this time invite Honorable Charles Wangwa to the podium and to talk to us. Who are you? And can you use 5 minutes to also tell us what you're bringing to the table in terms of manifesto?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the press and our dedicated audience. First, I have an observation to make, which might act as a kind of indictment on the organizers. I'm contesting for Obiungwa, Ugunagbo, and Osisioma Federal Constituency. I have 2 notable opponents, and none of them is here. And the person with me, the distinguished gentleman with me, is representing Aba North and South. I would have liked any of my co-contestants to be there so that I tell them to their face why they should stand before the audience and walk to their home and not stress themselves further to contest the election, because the constituents has gotten the right person. So that's one thing. Be that as it may, my name is Lawrence Charles Wangwa. I'm from a border village called Umome, a border between Akwa Ibom and Abia State. It's a very undeveloped part of the state. I was born 57 years ago. I went to primary school in my village. Then I went to Anglican Grammar School in Bausi. Then I went to the University of Lagos, where I studied history. Then later, I went abroad, studied other technical courses. And I also did a master's in international law and diplomacy. I specialize in what they call covert diplomacy and counterinsurgency. And added to that is my stroll into the field of arbitration and conflict resolution. I'm a widely traveled person. Before the age of 25, I had gone the world around on my own. I'm married. I have 6 children. My first son is a British-trained economist who is now resident in Canada. My first daughter is a fashion designer and nutritionist living in Canada too. My second daughter is an economist, also resident in Canada. My three other kids go to school. One is doing law at Afe Babalola University. One is studying at Covenant University, and the other one at Babcock University. Now, let me tell you one thing that is interesting about me. My father never went to school. My brother never went to school. I left my village from a mud and thatch house, borrowed 10 naira to pay interest of 3 naira monthly, and I promised myself that I'm going to change the history of my family, the history of my area, and the history of the state I come from. I left at that age of 16. The first thing I did was I gave 30 people gainful employment. I can give you reference. At a company they call Knitting Test Industries Limited in Ikorodu. I left Knitting Test, I joined NEPA. I also got people employment there. How did I do it? It's a question I want somebody to ask me. How did I, at the age of 16, give 30 people gainful employment, which are verifiable till now? Then, I've always had visions. These visions, my struggles about life, encapsulated, is what is propelling me to be where I am today, because I'm going to replicate what I did at a microcosmic level into a macro level. So, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to present myself before you. Feel free to ask me any question about anything. Can I go on with my manifesto?
No, time up.
Okay.
You have just few seconds.
Okay.
That can be enough, obviously.
Okay.
So we may ask you such questions later on. So
Okay.
I think your time is up, sir.
Thank you.
But let me, again, on behalf of the organizers of the Abia political debate, respond to the first observation that you made, which in respect of your opponents, especially those contesting from the same constituency, that you're from. The organizers wrote letters and followed up to all of you, including those of you who are very honorable by my perception right now that are here. But it wasn't a compulsory thing. We didn't have any powers to force anyone to be here. If we could, they would have been here. But again, we also want to let you know that this is a debate, but it's also a presentation. So please, our questions will border on what you will do, what you will do, what you will do until the end. So, if your opponents were to be here, yes, it could have been a debate. But please present what you will do. May I have the honor now to hand over the microphone to my colleague, Oge Uzoku.
Thank you very much, Bonnie, for handing over the mic to me. You're welcome, everyone, to this platform. We are going to now ask you, honorables, to tell us what you are going to do, assuming you are elected into the post you are seeking for. Thank you, honorable, for telling us who you are. But right now, we want to hear from you based on your manifesto on what you are going to do. Thank you. Honorable Azubike, please.
Thank you very much. Yesterday is the mother of today. I have been to that house before, and I can only say that what I'm going to do will be a continuation with improvement on what I did yesterday. What did I do yesterday? I used legislation as instrument of social engineering, infrastructural transformation, and development. I used legislation and the various aspects of it as a means of addressing the challenges within my constituency. What are those challenges? Generating employment for our youths, providing educational facilities for our people, assisting the government in the state in infrastructural transformation. Hence, within the first time I went, like I said earlier, I was able to secure employment for 126 graduates as a first-time member. Going back now, I am sure by the grace of God that I'm going to more than double that. In terms of educational development, I was able to build many structural infrastructure in Abia State Polytechnic. I was able to do the auditorium, the Entrepreneurship Development Center, provide 120 computer laptops for them, pay fees for indigent students within the school to the tune of 4 million naira. I knew the challenges of funding the Polytechnic within my constituency, and I was able to move a motion which was unchallenged and unopposed in the House that the federal government should take over that institution, being Abia being the only state in the southeast that does not have a federal polytechnic. By that, my target was to improve the pay package for those working in the institution, to reduce the fees paid by the students in that institution, to create and broaden the employment opportunities with the institution, and to save the government the money is used to pay to the school as subvention. That motion passed, could not be implemented because it was close to the end of my tenure. And as I'm going back now, by the grace of God, from the first day, I'm going to pursue a program of ensuring that federal government takes over Abia State Polytechnic. I was able within my constituency to plant a school in Omoala, Ebelu community that never had a school from the creation of the world till now. That's through my activities in the house, building the first 2 structures in that place. Today, that community has both a primary and secondary school within the school, housed in the buildings made by me. I was able to go to Umogele in Aba South local government and build a block with which the primary school now was able to establish a secondary school in it. So my goal is to use legislation as instrument to achieve those objectives, those aspirations of my community, of my constituency that are presently lacking. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable, for telling us what you are going back to the Federal House to do. We hope we are going to hear from us on the follow-up questions on what next you're going to do in the House. And we'll also allow people to equally ask you questions. It's now your turn, Honorable Charles Mwangwa, to tell us what you are going to do for Obingwa Ugunabo local government constituency.
Yeah, my aspiration is first about the people of Obingwa Ugunabo and the Osisioma Federal constituency. I've taken a comprehensive and cursory thought of the 3 local governments, which are very strategic. Osisioma, for instance, is the economic hub of the state. You can't imagine we have an NPC depot that ferries petroleum product, but there is no road. If they pump product there, the tanker falls. Go there and you see a sorry site, a dump, which is an environmental hazard. All these things I would draw the attention of the federal government. Osisioma and my local government to really achieve the result. I'm going to work in concert with legislators in neighboring states, because if you look at it, if you take geography the map, from Umika Junction, there's a road that goes straight there to Moba, comes to Maro, links the new road built in Toedino. If you build a bypass there, if you are going to Calabar, you save more than 2 hours. All of you cannot underscore the importance of Bini bypass. These things give me sleepless nights. Then the condition of Osisioma, the other time there was a fire incident. Because there's no safety, no check, nobody. It seems as if there is nobody remembering anything about them. There is ecological fund made available by the federal government, which can be used to work on very bad terrains, like my area from Itungwa, Aburuke, Akano, Mbugu, down the area to our neighboring state in Akwa Ibom, you will cry for us. You can't even get, for me to access the third this Tuduruka Road, I spent 45 minutes, something that should have taken less than 5 minutes. These things, these people cry every day. Then youth empowerment. I ask questions. How many of our youth have federal jobs? Good federal job. How many of them employ Minister of Finance? How many of them work in customs? I have to make sure that what is due to this local government, I'll get. If the federal government will not get it, I will spend my own resources to draw the attention of the whole world. I can even mobilize all the people in my constituency to come to Abuja for them to see their condition. But we are not seeing this kind of thing. I'm going to employ, I'm covering 31 annual course. I'm going to give each person a job, each graduate that will ask as a representative and research officer in each of the 31 wards. This I will do, and I've been doing such things. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable, for giving us your manifestos. Now I'm going to give my colleague, Bonnie, for the next round of questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's getting clearer and clearer as we're moving on. Right Honorable Uzo Azubike, legislation is primarily what you're going to do should you win the election in the National Assembly. Besides that, you have oversight and the rest of them. But having looked at the Nigerian scene, should you go back to the National Assembly? Should you go back to the National Assembly? What legislations are we expecting from you, vis-a-vis how it will impact on your people?
Thank you. The three functions of the legislature are legislation, representation, and oversight. You make legislations to reflect the aspirations of your people at any point in time. Today in Nigeria, the most critical issue on the burner is the issue of restructuring as a means of achieving a balance of justice within the system. Because it is the imbalance within the system that is causing the plethora of agitations across the country. That is why you have IPOB calling for Biafra, and you have people in the north calling for their own, and you have Boko Haram rampaging the whole place, you have the herdsmen and all that and all that. Like unequals are put together. I'm going to pursue the legislative program of restructuring to look at the present composition of Nigeria, the way things are distributed, both in terms of power, amenities, and resources. Because I believe that if we have a just and fair system, there will be no need for agitation. No group of Nigeria will bother about where anybody who is coming to rule Nigeria comes from. A situation we have today where in the entire security architecture of Nigeria, there is no Igbo man that is heading any of them. There is no way you can expect that part of Nigeria to be peaceful. So, in the course of discharge of my duties, I'm going to pursue legislations on that restructuring. I'm going to support it anytime it comes. We're going to work out the terms. I believe in youth empowerment. Today, you go to many agencies where you don't see anybody from, say, the Southeast employed. The way things are distributed in Nigeria today is that whoever heads an agency puts his own people. And resulting in a situation where you have a glut of certain people from certain sections of the country, and then you have a complete deficit of people from other sections of the country. Now, through oversight, I am going to, which was what I also did in the first one, and that's how I was able to achieve 126 graduates securing federal employment. I'm going to ensure that we follow the federal character principle of Nigeria by ensuring that wherever my people are entitled to anything, it is going to be given to them. I believe that the major challenge we have in Nigeria today is ignorance, illiteracy. That is why people misinform others, and they act based on those misinformation. So I'm going to pursue a program of improving the quality of education and making education available to all. Like in my own constituency, I've made it a point of duty that I'm going to provide scholarship, free WAEC registration for all students in the 15 public schools within Aba North and Aba South. So nobody will not be able to attend secondary school or write WAEC because the parents cannot afford to pay the fees. Let me stop there and we'll continue as you call me back. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chief Charles Wangwa. You've been sitting, so to speak, on the fence, watching activities of government. You chose this time to go to the National Assembly, nay, the Green Chamber, the House of Representatives. At the back of your mind, what are you going to do in terms of legislation as they will impact on your people?
I'm going to work in concert and cooperate with my state governor, regardless of party affiliation. I work with them, the needs of the state, which it can't grab onto, like sometimes when you want to apply loan on certain things, because I'm going for the interest of the people, not for my pecuniary interest or the interest of a particular party. I'm also going to support South, East, and South-South integration. Because the National Assembly, what we have in the National Assembly, we cannot really make impact on a whole scale without the cooperation of our neighbors. Middle Belt is ready to work with us. South-South is ready to work with us. And the Southeast. If we get ourselves together and pursue a common goal, then to liberate ourselves, like having the South-South, like they have the former Eastern region. We have an economic cooperation. Then, on the individual basis, we have peculiar needs, like I've stated before. Our youths need training. They need better education. They need more educational institutions, because if you look at it, Abia State has one of the highest numbers of candidates in JAMB. So we need to engage the federal government to give us effective and working federal institutions, be it polytechnic or university. So far, the people we have there, they are doing good, but good is not enough here, there is better. I have better ideas to change and turn things around. If they were doing better honestly, I won't come out. I will continue my business of philanthropy, which I'm touching lives, even outside my constituency. I went to the Royal Methodist Hospital, Ugueke. I went there, they had no life support equipment, no oxygen. I shed tears. Then I bought it, I went to Lagos, bought it, delivered it personally myself in Ugueke, not even in Obiangwa, not even this place. That's the kind of person I am. I train people everywhere, and I will continue doing that. And I believe in human development. If you look at our youths today, we have unemployable graduates. The standard of education is so poor. So we have to do something. It's better we turn out 50,000 graduates that are employable than to turn 300,000 that will not worth a secondary school certificate holder. So all these things are things I'm going to do, and they are very practicable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Charles Wangwa, Honorable Uzazubike, for telling us what you would do if you are given an opportunity in the Federal House. We've been talking about your constituencies. We want to go beyond that. Now, having researched on your constituencies and their areas of need, give us an insight on the legislation you have in mind that will impact on the people of Nigeria as a whole, given the opportunity to be in the House. Honorable Sir.
Thank you very much. The first legislation that I think that will give us peace is legislation on restructuring. I am going to pursue it vigorously together with other legislators. I'm going to pursue effective enforcement of the federal character principles as enshrined in Nigeria that will ensure equal and even distribution of opportunities, facilities, projects, and everything, so that there can be peace and justice within the system. I'm going to pursue a legislation on educational opportunities to all Nigerians. I'm conscious of the fact that I'm only going to be a legislator, that to a certain extent, the implementation and enforcement will fall on the table of the executive. But mine is to ensure that we provide a legislative framework, which I know, with my voice, firm and loud in the green chambers of the National Assembly, I'll be able to convince majority of the members to transform what I have just offered to my constituency to become a national policy on education, whereby a child attending school should be able to attend free primary school, free secondary school, and be able to register for WAEC, so that having that minimum educational qualification will be mandatory for all. In that situation, we would have attacked the major challenge we have today, which is that of ignorance. This ignorance that is bearing the rumors we always trade around, in the system. It is ignorance that will make somebody, for instance, say, people of Southeast will not vote in presidential election, which means that the people of Southeast will allow the people of the North or other parts of the country alone to determine who will be president of Nigeria. And I know that if everybody has that minimum level of education and understanding, before you take actions, you will analyze it on your own and ask yourself whether it will actually be in the best interest of your people. Then, of course, the federal character principle ensures that there is fair distribution of resources and projects. The situation we have today in Nigeria is that you go to some areas of the country, you see federal government projects littered everywhere. Like when I was in the house the first time, I did observe that the only institutions of the federal government in Abadan was the police station and the prison yard. In fact, it was when the house was convinced that that was true that they agreed with me without debate that let us introduce one, the Abia State Polytechnic then. So these are some of the legislations that I'm going to pursue vigorously.
Thank you very much, Honorable Uzazubike, for telling us what you are going to do for the people of Nigeria as a whole. Honorable Charles Wangwa, it's now your turn to take the podium. The question says, apart from the legislation directed to your constituency, which other legislative bills are you going to target that will affect positively on the Nigerian people?
Sorry, Honorable Charles Mwangwa, just before you start, would like to tell the audience that we have very strict rules here. And part of the rule is cheering or jeering or booing or clapping of hands. Please, let's restrict ourselves to these simple rules. Thank you very much.
Yes, moderator. What my brother said about restructuring is a sine qua non. It's a do without. Without restructuring, we can't have even development. If you look at it, it's a very sorry sight that out of the 360 members of the Federal House of Reps, the North has 191. The Southeast has 43. So you find out that there's nothing we can do without restructuring. Without restructuring, the faith of the Igbo man, the Southeasterner, is sealed. He's given a bar. So that I'm going to do everything, use my contacts, work in concert with people like him if he makes it to National Assembly, because I know I'll be there. To see that we work on that. I'm an irredentist. I'm first of all an Okwango irredentist, then an Igbo irredentist. Then another area where it's on the area of security. If you look at what we are doing with Boko Haram, you look at it. When you come to security operation, you have vertical, horizontal, and asymmetrical. The system we are using, they have to change their using. We don't have good intelligence network. I'm going to use my experience in cover diplomacy, intelligence, and counterinsurgency to put up a legislation. A lot of things I cannot disclose right now. For instance, recently now you see that the Boko Haram, they are bold enough, they go to military installation, they attack them. And if you look at our system, our Nigerian army still use the trench style where you dug trenches to hold a place. You don't do that anymore. So I'm going to work because security is very, very important so that the nation will have a very good security architecture, and also to put a legislation in place where, like the Inspector General of Police, the security arms, if you are changing the personnel, you follow a laid-down principle. You make sure that the Constitution is followed. So the areas of the Constitution that allows whoever is the president to do what he likes, to administer the country like a sole administrator, that will not be there again. And again, a legislation on education, because our educational institutions, even our universities, are not even as good as glorified secondary institutions. I used to tell people that I was more intelligent when I left secondary school than when than some graduates now come out of the university. So those things, the area of security and education and restructuring, they will be my key areas. Thank you.
All right, Honorable Charles Mwangwa, I would ask you to please stay there because we're starting the next question with you. But just before then, we'd like the viewer and the listener to know that this is the Abia political debate organized by the Abia Media Roundtable, holding at Bines Hotel, Aba, this day. And of course, it is being powered by PBS Television, MCLtv, NTA Channel 6 Aba, Buzz FM, Magic FM, Arc Television, and of course, Igbere Online Television. Now, sorry that we have to keep you for that long, but of course, this is a task you are prepared for. Now, you're looking at going into the National Assembly, be it the upper chamber or the lower. There is so much partisanship as against legislation, as against that which will, engender good governance. Should you find yourself there, what would you do? For instance, you mentioned a time ago, some time ago in the course of your response, that you will stretch your hand to the southwest of the country because you figured that the middle belt is already working with the southeast. So much partisanship to the point that even when issues are germane, the issue of higher population, sometimes religion, sometimes ethnicity, and political balance, they come in the way. What would you do to ensure that the National Assembly is more people-oriented and patriotic?
Thank you. One thing I studied very well is about intergroup relations in Nigeria. Anyone that stands up now and tell me where he comes from, I will tell him things about that place and the peculiarities of that place. So I'm throwing the challenge. I told you when I was 16, that I gave people employment. I said, I need somebody to ask me how I did it. You see, people, it's your approach to people. The man who gave me my first breakthrough in life was one of Anachi from the kingdom when he was in the MPC area manager in the north. I was nobody, I never knew him. But he worked, when I talked to him, he saw I believed in him. He saw I recognized him on his post. So what we need is integration, make people feel important, make people know. For instance, check in this election, majority of my voters will be from PDP, will be PDP members. They will constitute the highest number of my voters in this election. Write it down today. I'm contesting with ABGA. I relate with APC. I relate with PDP. The other day, I dined with Humphrey. Yesterday, I met Solomon. I went to his father's lunch. We were there, went to the high table. I opened the drinks. We all shared it together. Abarebe was there. So what we're talking about now is people. When people see you can relate. Now look at, for instance, I'm the only person you will see his number. Look at my flyers, has my numbers. Call me here, they will ring and I answer you. How many people contest and have such? How many do you know their numbers? You reach out to people like me. When I go there, you can call me 24 hours. They arrest you, police arrest you arbitrarily. Call me, I will call the IG or the CP, you come out. Nobody will restore bells from you. It's part of my manifesto. I have to reach out. So I'm going to work because nobody is very difficult to assess and nobody is easy to assess. It depends on your approach. When people see reason with you, they will reason with you. So I'm going to, first of all, harness the legislators from the start. Okay, for instance, my place shares a border with 2 2 local governments in Akwa Ibom, Obarakara and Isherudim. My stepmother is from Isherudim. The man walking, I did a road linking from my village to Akwa Ibom. To a village there they call it Obanokwa. Down you link to a coronation. I did it myself. I funded it. So when I go there now, those people are ready. The way we work with them, we don't fight. So that is the same system I'm going to use to get the other people. By the time they see reason, they go. Like during this course of campaign, I went to a place, they confessed, nobody contesting. I visited them. I told them where I come from. Let something good come from Nazareth. Let us not be the land of the bad. The people who are shedding tears, they say, we will vote for you. So if you make sense and told them what you are suffering, I'm sure the Dekina man, the Otukpo man, the Doma man is going to support us, and we'll start from there. Thank you.
Right, Honorable Uzo Azubike, you've been in the House of Assembly at the state level. You've also been a councillor, also at the state level. And then you stepped up to the National Assembly, where you served 1 term in the House of Representatives, where you want to go again. You are aware there is so much intrigue, infighting, partisanship. From experience, what are you going to do to change it?
First, as a legislator, your constituency is only a basis for selection. Once you are selected, you are elected, as I'm going to be elected, you now represent the entire country. Your party is only a platform for you to run, because we don't have provision for independent candidates. After elections, you are now a legislator for Nigeria, and you present all the parties within your constituency. That way, it does not matter where any matter brought before you in the process of legislation is going to affect. You look at it positively from the broader perspective of national interest, what will serve Nigeria best, knowing fully well that we enjoy the advantage of scale by Nigeria being together. Falling back on antecedents, when I was in the House of Assembly, I brought a motion in favor of the Umaro people in Ikuano local government, for federal government, for Abia state government then, to give them electricity. I followed it with oversight, and they were given electricity. While we were in the National Assembly, you know it was a PDP-dominated house. The major opposition to federal government policies then were members of PDP, who were looking at things not on the basis of the party of their origin, but on the basis of national interest. That was why, when arbitrarily then the government increased pump price of petroleum on January 1st from 95 naira per liter to 141 naira per liter, it was PDP legislators that convened the House on a Sunday, and we challenged it, stopped it, and got it reversed. So, as long as I am in the National Assembly, it is my duty to protect all sections of the country. I recall that the Calabar depot was shut down for like 6 months. I was the one in the floor of the House who brought a motion on that. And at the end of the day, following House resolutions, that depot was reopened, because injustice to one section, of course, that's the problem we have in Nigeria today, is injustice to all. Permit me to take a reverse and add to the areas of legislation of my interest. That the condition of those people who are supposed to provide security for us in Nigeria today is so deplorable. And that is why they cannot guarantee the security of Nigeria. You look at the police, you look at the army. Go to where they live. Look at the condition of service. Look at their families. So I'm going to concentrate on a legislation that will first secure those who provide security for us. That is on one area. You look at the way people are retired from service at age 65. Many are 60, many are still very strong to work. And on basis of service of 35 years, I'm also bringing a legislation to review that and expand the time within which people can work, so that their experience can be brought to bear in national development. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right Honorable Uzo Azubike, the PDP candidate for Aba North and Aba South in the forthcoming election. Well, when Mr. Chimdi Uluoha was, opening the program and introducing the dignitaries, he spoke about those that we were expecting. And of course, we know what the Nigerian roads are like. Could be one reason or the other. But we would like to, within the time we have left, introduce and bring on board Engineer Dr. Steve Ochoma, who is the UPP candidate for Arochukwu Ohafia in the forthcoming general election. But I guess it will also permit us to know that we restrict ourselves to the time we have left. May we have him ushered to the podium, please. Just as we take a short break. DJ, a little break. We have Engineer Dr. Steve Ochoma seated right there. He's the UPP candidate in the coming election for Arochukwu Ohafia Federal Constituency. Doctor, you're welcome. Now, I think we should start with you, and because apparently we're coming for the 2 o'clock belt, as it were, but we'll take time to roll up a lot of questions which we may have to answer in the interim. Of course, you are aware that this is a political debate organized by Abia Media Roundtable, and your colleagues there from different constituencies. We have Right Honorable Uzo Azubike, candidate for PDP, Aba North and South Federal Constituency, and of course, Chief Charles Wangwa is the ABGA candidate for Ubingwa, Osisioma Ugunagbo Federal Constituency. You're very much welcome. First of all, we may want to know who you are. Tell us about yourself and tell us what your manifesto looks like. All right, Right Honorable Zazubike, you have an observation. You want to tell all of us, we're on radio, we're live on TV as well. Okay, please, your observation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Observation is following the earlier observation by the ABGA candidate for Osisioma, that this is the most strange debate I have ever witnessed. It can never be a debate nor a presentation. If it has to be a debate, all candidates, even if not all, it will be a debate between candidates within the same constituency, so that our constituents will be able to assess them and make up their minds one way or the other. The strange situation we have is I'm here as member going to represent Aba North and South Federal Constituency, PDP, and the next man debating with me is ABGA member going to represent Osisioma. And now somebody has come in again from Arochukwu, and he's starting from where we started like 3 hours ago or 30 minutes ago to say who he is and all that. My own appeal, or rather submission, sir, is that this has failed the minimum standard of any debate. If it is presentation, sir, then I will come and
what we are doing, Honorable.
Thank you, sir. If it is presentation, my presentation would not have anything to do with what the ABGA candidate from another constituency also has to say. I will stand up and make all my presentation, finish, and leave. And then he will come and make his presentation on what he wants to do on the status of legislator for his constituency. This is very strange arrangement, honestly.
Well,
the discussion here does not make any meaning when we don't have the candidates who are contesting among themselves. The incumbents, none of them is here. And I'm now discussing with somebody from an entirely different constituency. What impact would that make? How would that assist the electorate to know in Aba Federal Constituency the man they will vote, or in Osisioma Federal Constituency the man they will vote, or in Arochukwu Federal Constituency the man he will vote? Or will he say, because Uzo Azubike has spoken so well, we are now going to vote for PDP in Osisioma? Or will they say because Mr. Mwangwa, Chief Mwangwa, has spoken so well, he's Abga man, we are not going to vote for Abga.
All right, Honorable.
Please, that's my observation.
Right, Honorable. Thank you very much. The debate is not meant to automatically sway the mind of the voter. We must confess that. That is number one. Two, we did apologize, or we did state categorically from the word go, and I think we have recordings of what we're doing, that we are making presentations. And we did say, in response to what Chief Mwangwa said about his colleagues from, from his constituency being here, we did say that it is not a debate as such. Make your presentation. And that's the reason we are itemizing them. If we give one person 30 minutes to talk, and another person 30 minutes to talk, another person 30 minutes to talk, that is coming from you. But we have questions, and this is a platform where you're now presenting yourself, who you are. Even if everybody is here talking, that will not sway the voter just because he had come to the platform. All right? So in essence, what we're saying is this. And we did tell Honorable Mwangwa that we didn't make it compulsory. You can invite someone and the person may choose not to come. We've seen even the Nigeria Debate Group invite just 2 persons or 3 to debate, even in the course of this electioneering process. So I wish to apologize. If you think it is strange, it is not strange. We have questions, and it's the same question to everyone. You have different constituencies, you are speaking to the people. We figure that those who did not come have lost out something, because they would have had the opportunity of speaking to the people from this platform just like you're doing. Thank you very much. Thank you. So may I have Dr. Ochoma, please?
Good afternoon. I crave your indulgence to stand on existing protocols to introduce myself. My name is Steve Ochoma from Atani, Aruchukwu. I was born about 51 years ago to the family of late Mazi C.S.I. Ochoma. I attended primary and secondary school at my hometown, Aruchukwu, and then universities of Federal University of Warri, UNN, River State University of Science and Technology, and a few others. My first degree was in civil engineering, and I have multiple master's degrees in transportation engineering, management, marketing, and a PhD in strategic management. I'm here under the platform of United Progressive Party, UPP, though a few months ago in Abga with my friend there. But that's the story for another day. So today we are contesting under the platform of UPP for the Federal House of Representative position for Aruchukwu Ohafia. I don't see anything strange in a situation where one person out of the lot from a constituency turns up for, call it a debate, call it a presentation. The only difference is that if people from the same constituency are not present, different people, then you may not have the opportunity of countering what your opponent has said. But basically, it's still presentation of your manifesto and your program that for the people that you're going to make. Thank you.
We said, okay, you've told us about yourself. So what are you bringing to the table should you win the election to represent the people of Aruchukwu Ohafia in the coming election?
Okay. I would like to start by saying that in 2015, I was a major sponsor and supporter of the Abga Party. A few months ago, I didn't know I was going to run, but something happened. And I believe that if people, the right people, stayed away from politics, we'll continue to have mediocres rule over us, or lord it over us. And so I decided to, after consultation with my God, I decided to put myself in the ring for the ball. Now, you would agree with me that in Abia State, our own very state, whether you like it or not, for the past 20 years, it's not been a hurry for us. Things can get better. In Aruchukwu Hafia, this is not the first time an election will be called for Federal House. In Aruchukwu Hafia, Senator Mao Habunga was there for 8 years. Then a couple of guys from Ohafia went there for ballot for 4 years. And then the incumbent, Ukonkole, has been there for nearly 4 years. For us, in that constituency, we believe that we've not had it good enough. We believe that the best that we've had can be bettered.
So, Doctor, what are you bringing to the table?
That's where I'm coming.
Because you are being timed here.
Okay. So, and that's why I'm running, because the perspective at which you look at something determines your vision and your mission, how you're going to go about it. I strongly believe that what we need in Aruchukwu Hafia, being an agricultural community and also being an industrial, and being people that are well known for trade and commerce, that the basic thing we need is education. So we're going to be sponsoring massive scholarship programs. We are going to be pushing for policy advancement that will enhance the education of our people. We are going to be pushing for policy advancement that will enhance the agricultural potential of our people. We are going to be giving seed money to our people to go into agricultural and trade ventures. We are going to sponsor bills that are specially tailored towards the needs of that people. And like you also know, my party, United Progressive Party, we are of view that self-determination should be there in the Constitution, and we are going to be sponsoring a bill to that effect. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your contribution so far. But we are going to ask you to go beyond your constituency. If elected into the National Assembly, what other legislative bills that are targeted to affect positively on the people of Nigeria are you going to effect?
Okay, number one, I've talked about the self-determination, which has to be a constitutional issue. We're going to be sponsoring bill for the enhancement or the upgrading of our educational system. If you go to most of our classrooms, they're not better off than where animals will stay. So the environment for learning has to improve in terms of lighting, in terms of ventilation, in terms of classroom standard, in terms of teacher-student ratio. A teacher cannot be teaching 100 pupils or students and you expect that they will be optimal. So we are going to be sponsoring a bill to that effect. We are going to sponsor bills that has to do with national energy policy, wherein states will be allowed to harness their local potentials, like Enugu Coal and so many other states. We are going to be sponsoring bills that will make, there's what they call the Nigerian Content Bill or policy, but it has not been effected in principle. And as a civil engineer, you go to most of the big firms, construction firms, you see that our engineers are relegated where technicians from overseas come to do our job, to do the job of engineers. So we are going to be sponsoring bills specifically that will make it mandatory that any Nigerian that is better qualified than any foreigner must head the engineering section. It cannot be the other way around. You can't put a national who is better qualified below a foreigner who is less qualified. It can be done, and expect growth. We are going to be sponsoring bills to bring down the cost of governance and politicking. Like I was saying, in ABGA and so many other parties, I don't see the reason why somebody can obtain or should obtain nomination and express of intent form for 2.5, 3 million. It doesn't make sense. You're not going to get your best material from that system because those who have money, not necessarily, and not those who have the brains. You could have the brain, but you don't have the money. So there has to be a policy, a tailored policy that will encourage people who are not super rich or who are not money bags, but who has something to offer to compete effectively at the landscape, our political landscape. So we are going to be sponsoring bills that will put ceiling on how much you can spend for campaign, how much a party can sell their form, you know. And also we are going to sponsor bills that has to do with the woman, the female in Igbo land, for instance. You see that if a man has all female children, most times they don't allow them to inherit their father's property. And there has to be something that will be done to, Supreme Court has ruled, but there has to be a bill that make it mandatory that every female child has equal right with a male child in a family. And so many other bills we intend to sponsor.
All right, thank you very much, Engineer Dr. Choma. We probably will have an extension for you. We've had the two honorables here sitting for far too long before you came. We'll stretch a little bit for you. But it's also important that we bring on board Right Honorable Uzo Azubike now. This is a general question. Nigerians have been yearning for a unicameral legislature as against the bicameral that we have now. What is your take on it?
Well, if we have to run the presidential system of government in a federal territory, the use of bicameral legislature will be inevitable. Because the essence of the two arms, the two branches of the legislative arm, is to balance population with equality. The Senate is delimited on the principle of equality of all states, being confederating units. Then the House of Representatives, the second arm, some call it the lower arm. There is no higher arm and no lower arm in the legislature. There are two equal arms. One delimited on the basis of population and the other one delimited on the principle of equality. To ensure that people of approximately equal population will have equal representation. And the other way, to ensure that no state is stronger than the other. So if it is presidential system, I believe that the use of bicameralism is imperative. But I have my own idea of how our system should be restructured as part of the restructuring. My idea is that when you have the president, you should have a vice president or a deputy president for each of the geopolitical zones that constitute the country, such that each zone will be able to have a head that will be able to harmonize them, thereby ensuring regional integration and helping them to be able to embark on certain programs and policies that will be in their collective interest. The benefit is that in the absence of the president, for instance, from the president's own zone, there is already a deputy president. Assuming the president dies, you don't have to run into the problem we had the other time when Yaradua died and the presidency had to automatically shift to the south region. You now have a deputy president representing that his zone who ascends to the office. That is the structure you also have in the political parties.
But in a nation that is bedeviled by this level of sentiments we have, how do you determine who is the most senior vice president, or there will be an electoral college for that again, for, one of the vice presidents from the six geopolitical zones to take over?
I'm talking of deputy president. You have the president, you have a vice president, then you have deputy presidents for the geopolitical zones. Now, in the event of the demise of the president, the deputy president from his zone will ascend to ensure that he completes their tenure. That way we have smooth and orderly rotation of power and ensures that in that order, every zone will sometime get its turn and there will be no agitation. The problem we have today is that people are worried, like those of us here from the southeast. The greatest campaign point is whether after this man, the presidency will come to the east or will remain in the north or will go to the west. But if we're able to rearrange that structure under restructuring, then we can now have a smooth rotation of power from one zone to the other.
All right, Right Honorable Uzazubike, we will still have one more question before we gladly let you go, because you are signaling. So let's ask that question before that. And the question is, the last one will still come to you, Honorable Charles Wangwa, and of course, Dr. Choma. You heard the question, which is on the essence of, a bicameral or unicameral legislation. But quickly before you sit down, and if you permit us, you can go so that we don't stretch you too far. Now, INEC, the electoral umpire, there are prevailing fears as to whether this election will be free, fair, credible. These are the terms we use many times over in Nigeria. Do you have any fears about, the success of this coming election based on some of these arguments, the headship, some of the appointments, and other issues in the polity?
Let me start by appealing to all our people to go and collect their PVC so that if the opportunity comes, they'll be able to vote. And now say, sir, that the taste of the pudding is in the eating. Now, from the structure of INEC, and from the imbalances in the system, including the imbalances in the security system, with the recent introduction of Operation Python Dance across the country, to run from that January till 28th day of February, there is already apprehension that there is ulterior motive somewhere. But that is not affecting what I'm doing. What we are doing, as far as Aba is concerned, that's where I can assure, is that nobody, INEC, yes, may want to manipulate, but nobody is going to successfully rig any election. We don't spend so much to move from our various homes to our polling unit, stay there, cast the vote, the vote to be counted and recorded. We take our copies. By INEC rule, they said the copy must be pasted in the polling unit, and we will escort whoever has it to the collation center and stay there, and it is entered. And we will escort whoever is the ward collection officer to the constituency collection center and returning office until the result is entered and announced. So in Aba, I can assure you that irrespective of whatever they may have put in place, it's obvious that the structure they have put in place is aimed at manipulating the system. But I can assure everybody that if it is Aba North and South, nobody will be able to manipulate.
All right, thank you very much. Chief Charles Wangwa, unicameral, bicameral legislation, National Assembly. How do you think it should be? And indeed, follow it up by answering that on, any fears about the coming election, whether it will be a success or not, based on arguments and, of course, prevailing circumstances.
First, a bicameral legislature is where you have two houses or sections. Like here we have the Senate and the House of Representatives. In Britain, they have the House of Lords and the House of Commons. One is the upper, one is the lower. Though the Right Honorable has explained that one is based on population and one on equal presentation. There's something fundamentally wrong. The fundamental thing that is wrong is that we are not a federation in the true sense of it. And we have not been able to build Nigeria into a nation. Nigeria is just a state. And what's the difference between a state and a nation? You can be a nation and not a state. And you can be a nation and also a state. It's just like you say, the nation of Israel. When you come to Nigeria, you have the Igbo nation, the Yoruba nation, the Hausa nation. So Nigeria is a committee of nations making up a state. We have Ghana. Ghana is a nation. You see, everybody is talking about Ghana. America, a nation and a state. So that patriotism, first, you see yourself, maybe as an Igbo man, as an Efik man before being Nigerian. So we have to make effort to build Nigeria into a nation, becomes a nation state, and a true federation. In federation, no section is supposed to lord over the other. You have federation, you have confederation. Confederation is a loose federation. But you find out now that we've been operating a unitary system of government. We stopped operating federation in 1966. If we're a federation, the Southeast or Abia State can have their own missions in other countries. When we were a federation, we did better. We set up, there was effective competition. The West set up a university, then set up the first TV station in Africa. The East had their own university, the Suka. The North had Ahmadu Bello. So the North specialized in agriculture. They find the granite. In the East, the palm oil, which Malaysians came here to take seedlings, but we're importing from them today. So you find out that whether by camera or in a camera, if we're not been able to build ourselves into a true federation and a nation, everything will be going, will be rigmaroling. There's no time to properly elucidate on this, but I'm just giving you a skeletal view. Then, their sense why people are clamoring for unicameral legislature is to save cost. If you look at what is being spent on the Senate and on the House of Representatives, left, I would say, let's remove the Senate and have the House of Representatives, since the House of Representatives represent population. But when we come to look at the lopsided nature, the imbalance, you find out that you will not also get justice. Then you find out you can manage something close to the Senate, which is based on equal representation. And when we have only the Senate, the truth is that we may not cover certain areas of the country that have peculiar needs. So you find that we have to have a middle point between the Senate and the Rep.
All right,
and at the same time have one unit.
The question is joint, so can you use another 1.5 minutes to tell us now about your fears, if any, about the coming elections?
Okay. I have faith and believe in the coming elections. It's going to be election different from all other elections. The elimination of the incident form, and this election, you're going to find out that I have their manual. If they walk to the manual, you find some places you have 3,000 registered voters with PVCs and only 500 people or 3 may come to vote. So I have the belief if they do a free and fair election, which I believe INEC is going to do, we are going to achieve it. And with their training so far, and with instructions and guidelines, there's going to be a free and fair election. But there's a snag. The inability of President Muhammadu Buhari of APC to assent to the Electoral Act, which properly institutionalized anti-rigging methods, is the fear of people that they may use the federal might. But Nigerians will stand up to their feet. Everything rests with us. If you go to your booth, you see anything untoward, you resist it. That is the beginning of free and fair election. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Now we are going to go on to the next question. If you are just joining us, this is Abia Roundtable presenting Abia Political Debate 2019. Abia Media Roundtable, sorry. It's being powered by PBS Television, MCLtv, ActTV, Ibere TV, that's Ibere TV Online. And of course, we have Buzz FM in the house, Magic FM, and NTA Channel 6, Abba. I'm going to ask you, Honorable, what are your chances of winning this election against Strongfield?
Thank you very much. There's a Bible quotation that says, "For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God." My predecessor, the incumbent, is a very handsome man and the son of a very wealthy man. Somebody whose father's name opened doors and does things for him. He has Abraham as his father, so he has nothing to worry about. Me, I am nobody. The son of a peasant. The man who would trod on his bicycle to carry palm fruits and things to go. So I have the fear of God, and I fear the people. I believe I have no father or no big person that will look on to forgive my sins. So the people know. I relate with them. Like I gave you an instance. I'm the only one the electors have their number. I go to marketplaces. I've been doing grassroots almost every hamlet. Before I came here, I visited 4 places. I've stopped posting what I do online because they copy me. The people knows. I've even appealed to the conscience of PDP people. So they know who can perform. And I have done this in the past. I've built houses for people. I've given out scholarship without going to any government. And I live and stay with my people. So my chances, as we speak now, I have 80% chance, which I want to push to 95%. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Right Honorable Uzatubike, quickly to the podium, because we are about to go into a recession. We want to ask you in a minute and a half, please tell us what are your chances of winning this election?
I would say, to the glory of God, minimum of 80%, based on my antecedents, that before I went, Aba had no voice in the National Assembly. When I left, Aba also lost a voice. The retinue of projects and things I achieved within the period I was there for 4 years, and the absence of any of such things within these 4 years that I'm absent has made it mandatory that my people say I'm tested and trusted, and that they better fall back on me. That is why you see churches after churches endorsing me. You see all the communities in Aba, all have come out to endorse me. You see just last Saturday that the youth presidents of all the churches in Aba, Assemblies, Methodist, Anglican, Presbyterian, named them, came together. I think it was in this hall, and endorsed me to go back. I have the people moving with me, carrying me on their head, and that gives me confidence that come the 16th day of February, I am returning to the Green Chambers to go and restore the lost voice of Aba North and Aba South Federal Constituency. Thank you.
Sorry, not allowed, not allowed. Well, it's at this point that we must, right from this table and on behalf of Abia Media Roundtable, thank, in this instance, Right Honorable Uzo Azubike, the PDP candidate for Aba North and South in the coming election, and of course, Chief Honorable Charles Mwangwa Akajugo, the ABGA candidate for Obingwa Osisioma Uwunagbo Federal Constituency. We need to thank you very much for coming, and we hope that God will bless you, and may the best man win at the end of the day. Please, you can now clap for them, just as they take their exit. But Dr. Engineer Choma will still be with us, because we are expecting some more candidates for the second segment of this event. We thank you so very much. I am Bonnie Onogu, and of course, on behalf of my friends, James Eme and Oge Ike Uzoku, asking you to stay with us and then enjoy the second segment of the program.
all those who are outside and are built to be part of this, should please come in. May I once again remind us of the rules of engagement. No noise, no clapping, no hooting, no whistling, nothing when we start. Just listen, take notes. When the time for questions, you'll be allowed to ask questions. You are going to ask questions. We're going to take questions from the crowd. Okay? So, may I introduce the candidates? Engineer Steve Ochoma, the UPP candidate for Arochukwu Ohafia Federal Constituency. Thank you. And then Honorable OC Prestige, ABGA candidate for Aba North and South Federal Constituency. Okay. Let me just allow one applause for the two of them. Continue, just continue. Okay, thank you. You know why I allowed it? That's the end of applause. That's the end. No more until the end. Yes. Over now to Bonnie and another one. There's none here. Okay, two of you will make it. Okay, Bonnie and Ogechi. Go ahead. This is for you. Yes, you will come in here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for sticking around. We're just taking a slight break, and now we're back for the second and final segment of the event of the day. As you heard, we had honorable. Anyway, Rotarian is also right in some sense because it's RT. Rotarian Honorable Prestige OC, popularly called number 1 in the House of Representatives, is the candidate of ABGA contesting to represent again the people of Aba North and South. And Engineer Dr. Ochoma had been around, took part peripherally in the last segment, but because he was dashing in for the second segment, we said, no, you have to stay. So for you, it's double portion. And Honorable, we thank you and thank God for Johnny Mercy. He just flew in from Abuja, right? So what we're doing is not a debate per se. It's a presentation. I think we need to sound that out very clearly. We are asking questions, regular questions, bordering on your intentions, your manifesto, and then some general questions here and there. It is not a debate, right? That is what the organizers have planned, and I think we have to carry it out. Whichever way, a platform has been created for you to reach your people via 7 media platforms. PBS television is live. MCL television is live. NTH Channel 6 live. Buzz FM, Magic FM, Arc Television, and Igbere Online Television, all live, beaming this program. Thank you very much. Well, the first question, basically, is for you to tell who you are, and maybe add to that what your manifesto looks like this time round. Honorable O.C. Prestige.
Thank you.
And you have 5 minutes to do this.
Thank you very much for having me. First, I have to apologize for coming late due to a very important call. It has to do with the national assignment I went to in Abuja. Just came in from there now. I am Honorable Prestigious C, member representing Aba North and South Federal Constituency. I attended a primary school, a secondary school, university, and I have a BSc in government and public administration. I also have other degrees, we call it degrees, or other degrees conferred on me by some other foreign universities, which time might not permit us to start mentioning them one after the other. In the course of my manifesto for the first forthcoming elections, I want to say that the basic thing that every House member needs to know is what are your responsibilities as a legislator. Your responsibilities are one, lawmaking. That's the number one responsibility. And as a lawmaker, you should be able to propose bills, move motions that affect your people positively, and at the same time, translate those motions to bills at the end of the day that will affect your people. If it does not translate to bills alone, it also means that you should also make such motions at the end of the day have a positive effect on your people. Let me make an instance on this. If you move a motion like I moved a motion on the 15th of August 2015 about the terrible condition of roads in Aba, that motion brought about the approval by the federal government because it was moved to the Ministry of Works, Housing and Power. That brought about the approval of the federal government to Federal Ministry of Works and Housing to do the Ohanku Road. It also was one of the reasons why the Orata Road that is being constructed now is being constructed. So your basic thing you do as a legislator is to have bills, and like I said, and then motions. The second one is what we call representation. Representation is about bringing projects, bringing in things from the federal government that will affect your people positively. You will recall that while I've been there in the last 3.5 years, I've been able to represent our people in so many areas in terms of provision of water, provision of water, provision of transformers, that not just provision of transformers, energizing the transformers, provision of building of schools, and so many other things. Those are representations. If also you have the opportunity of bringing jobs, like I have brought so many jobs to the youths, you also bring jobs. So that is the second aspect of a legislator. That's one of the second thing that you do as a legislator. The third one is quasi-judicial function. The quasi-judicial function of a legislator has to do with those committees that has to do with petitions. Your people, your constituents who have issues where they are working in any of the federal ministries, or your constituents have issues where they are working, or issues with a business partner that has to do with government, you write such petitions. Those petitions are also translated to the Committee on Public Petition. In that vein, you are partaking in the cost of giving justice to somebody who needs justice. The fourth one is oversight function. And as in oversight function, you must have to be in all the committees that you're in charge to represent your people, to speak about those things that will correct the ills in the society in those areas. So these are the four main functions of a legislator. And then when you talk about manifesto, my duty is to make sure that I prefer and follow these things religiously in a manner that at the end of the day, my duty as a legislator will be one that will say that was very, very effective.
Well, thank you very much, Right Honorable O.C. Prestige, for telling us who you are and what the functions of a legislator ought to be. Now, Honorable, you are seeking for a re-election in the House. Having taken a look at your constituency, what do you think are the areas of need, and give an insight of what you intend to do if elected into the House?
The major problem with Aba has to do with infrastructure. Infrastructure is number one. As a member, immediately I was elected in 2015, I took a needs assessment of the problem of Aba. Number one is road infrastructure. And that was what made me to buy graders to grade all the rural roads in Ngwa Road. If you go to areas in Ngwa Road, Port Harcourt Road, I bought a grader by August 2015. And between that August 2015 and now, you've entered into Ngwa Road or Port Harcourt Road area, which is the rural area that I represent. You will see that roads that were impassable in 2015 have been passable now. Then, again, we also talk about the energy infrastructure. There is this issue of no light in this particular city. I have already, at the moment, bought and energized about 18 transformers, which has been distributed to almost all the nooks and crannies of the local government, the two local governments that I represent. And again, when we are talking about the other areas like pipe, like water, I will say here that I have brought about the provision of motorized boreholes. Motorized boreholes in so many areas like Ohanko by Thames Street.
Excuse me, Honorable, we may have to cut you off to enable us carry out a quick recession. We'll come back after this little break. Just hang in for a while.
And the little break, essentially, with due respect to the Honorable speaking, is to tell those who have become cheerleaders or those who are usurping the flow of the speech to please stop. And if you don't, we have security here. We'll mandate you to be bundled out. There will be time for you to ask questions at the end of the program. This is unwarranted. It's against the rules of this program, and please respect yourself. Honorable, please go on.
Thank you very much. We don't need to reply to such. I know they are paid to be here to disrupt what we are doing, but I know that money will expire in their hands. So again, I talked about the schools that we have attracted. I will give you a copy of this to save your time, the moderators. This copy of the book has a well-encompassed all that you have done within the last 3 years. Here, I have the name to primary school where we did a 3-classroom block. I have another one here at Che Road Primary School. These are also there. I have also another one at Compost Road by Ekotek Benero. And like I said, these are all evident. I am sure that this brochure will go a long way in giving you not just the names, but the pictorial view of all the things that we've been able to do within that regard. And I think that
All right, thank you so very much for respecting our time. Indeed, when we talk about an array of achievements such as you want to do, time may not permit. But we need to know very quickly, what, apart from legislation, especially those that impact on your people directly, would you want to bring on board again, should you get re-elected, that will impact on Nigeria as a whole? Because you are going as a federal legislator, all right, after being elected from your constituency.
Yeah, let me put it the other way. You are elected to represent. And so your core constituency comes first. That does not mean you do not have any other area like you can touch. If you go through my brochure here, you will see that I moved a motion on the deplorable condition of Abuja-Kaduna Expressway. It's there in your brochure. That is not in my constituency because I represent Aba North and South, but I also represent Nigeria. I also moved about the kidnapping along that same road because at a point it was something that was unbearable because sometimes we also use those roads. And also, if you look at that, you'll also see some other motions that I move that has to do with the welfare of Nigerians. Like when one of the airlines, the Dana airline, had when they were landing sometime last year, one of the doors, opened up. And I moved the motion that they should stop Dana from flying to forestall another air crash occurring in our airspace. It's also part of that. And so many other things. You also see when I moved about the corruption in the insurance industry, where government agencies corruptly enrich themselves through some of these contracts that they give to some of the insurance companies. These are part of the things that we do in the House. And I want to say here that if re-elected, I will first of all talk about my constituency, those things that borders on my constituency, because they are the people that sent me, before I will also now look into other areas, because all other areas have representatives. But first, I have to give that priority to those who elected me into office. That is people of Aba, because they have problems that need to be solved. Problems that nobody has ever spoken about for the past 16 years before I came into office. And those problems has to be brought before the federal government for them to see what they can do to let those things done for the benefit of my people.
Right, thank you very much. You may take a seat for now while we beckon on Engineer Dr. Ochoma. This time around, we want to know what specific motions or bills are you going to push forward for the specific needs of your people? What are the specific needs of your people that you want to really go and signpost should you get elected?
Thank you very much. I've earlier on introduced myself. First and foremost, I believe that Aruchukwu and Hafa people are predominantly farmers. And I believe that when you produce and you don't have a good access road to your farms to bring out your produce, you won't be happy producing more. Honorable Osti Prestige talked about the functions of the legislator or a legislator. Of course, by the way of Section 52, Sub 1 is primarily lawmaking. He enumerated others, but there are also some he omitted, by way of the oversight function. And this is important because a lot of time you hear people talk about, I'm building a legislator telling you, I'm building road, I'm building this, I'm building that. The zonal intervention fund, these are inherent in the zonal intervention fund, which some people have termed the constituency projects. So that's not the basic function of a legislator, to build roads and to bring infrastructure. But you could push for policy advancement that will make those things affordable and available to your people. By way of oversight function again, the power of investigation of the MDS can be brought into play by a legislator to make sure that his people are not shortchanged. Again, you hear people talk about the president is not doing this, the vice president is not doing this. And I'm sure that most times legislators themselves talk about it, but they don't even know that one of the basic functions is the power to remove the president or the vice president. We seem to concentrate more on the perquisites that accrue by the way of the control of the funds, by way of appropriation. So, having this in mind, that a legislator is exposed and is equipped with powers to negotiate for his people, I'll be going to Abuja to ensure that accessible road to the farms of Abam, that the boundary adjustment is effectively made, that the Sioux people of Aruchukwu will not be shortchanged, to make sure that our people are properly educated and they have access to quality health care, and that our people have access to the money that comes to you as a legislator. If you're a true representative of the people, part of the prerequisites of that office must accrue to them. And that's what we're going to be doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Dr. Steve Ochoma, for telling us what the areas that your constituency needs you to legislate for them. Now, I'm going to be asking you about the extreme partisanship that has been witnessed in the National Assembly, which has retarded democracy in that aspect. Now, what are you going to do? How will you help the National Assembly to become more patriotic and democratic in its ruling?
You know, the problem with the Nigerian system is that we don't have ideologies. They are not clear-cut party lines. They are not beliefs. For instance, party, my former party, and UPP are exactly the same in terms of constitution and manifesto, no difference whatsoever. It shouldn't be. Now, I must acknowledge that OC Prestige has done very well. But I'm challenged by his achievement. I don't owe anybody any apology to that. But I'm going there to see that more can be done. So, but directly to your question, if we understand that there's a line between partisan politics and governance, the moment you get elected into the National Assembly, you must draw the line that you have come in to serve the nation and the people. Your party interests should be secondary. The national interest should be paramount. So we are going to be going to the National Assembly with that mindset that whatever our party interest is must be subjugated to the national interest. But you must also promote your party's manifesto.
Thank you very much, Engineer Dr. Steve Ochoma. I'm going to be taking you up on the same question, Right Honorable OC Prestige. If you don't mind coming to the podium. I'll still ask you the same question, Honorable, on the partisan politics we see, which is retarding the growth of democracy in the National Assembly. What are you going to do to make sure that the National Assembly is more people-oriented and not that of partisanship?
Let me say this. In the National Assembly, I do not think that it is just all that people are partisan. Every debate have people who have interest who speak for and those who have interest to speak against. Most times it is not based on party lines. But truly of late, a lot of things have changed, especially during this campaign and under the campaign, over the campaign from party A to party Z. But I think what my colleague said is paramount, and it should be paramount, that once you are elected, political parties cease. Even on the floor of the House, at a point, people were introducing themselves as having come from party A or party B. But it makes no meaning. Everybody debates based on what you think is the right thing for the country. I am of the opinion that if this has to be sustained, if it has to be sustained, there should be a review of all what we have in our constitution when it comes to party politics. And again, make way for independent candidacy. Because the constitution provides that you must be a member of any political party for you to vie into public office. But if you are an independent candidate, it gives you the opportunity to be independent-minded without minding what the other political parties are doing. So my view is that the constitution should be reviewed in a manner that independent candidacy should be one of the things that should be in our political space to enable people who have independent minds to air it for the interest of this country. But a situation where you must be aligned, or you must be forced to align yourself with the party's programs and manifestos and position makes it difficult. But I think in the 8th Assembly, we at a point defied it by electing somebody whom the party never wanted him to be the Speaker of the House. Dogara was not the party's choice, but we, the members, said, no, we are not interested in that. And also the Senate also, exhibited that by making sure that even the Deputy Senate President was not from the majority party. He was from a minority party. That means we're all growing. But an independent candidacy will make this what more than what Nigerians will expect from us, the politicians.
Maybe we should twist the question another way around. The subjugation of some ethnic nationalities in Nigeria, the issue of restructuring, the issue of population even in the House where, take for instance, your zone, the Southeast zone, seems to have a minority in the National Assembly, and at times their voices are shouted down. What could we bring on board, courtesy of people like you, should you win, to ensure that there is some level of equity? Look at appointments and all of that. What are you going to, how loud would your voice be?
It still boils down to the amendment of the Constitution. It is the Constitution that was supervised and handed over to us by the military that we are all applying at the moment. A situation where Kano states have 24 members based, according to them, on the size of the local governments they have, how many people, according to them, they have, and all that. It's not acceptable. A state like Lagos State, as small as Lagos State is, have 24 members, as against 8 from Abia. Except these things are done in a manner just like they did in the Senate, where each state brings 3 senators. If we do it in that manner, it will give every section that opportunity of having a voice. We have 33 members from the Southeast, 43 members from the Southeast. And Southwest have about, Northwest have about 102 members. And the same is applicable to other zones in the country. So I am of the opinion that for that to be done, for us to have that equitable representation, this issue of how many local governments represent one federal constituency come from have to be reviewed, and each state given equal number of representation to enable us have equal voice at the National Assembly. That's the only way out we can get that done.
All right, should we throw that to Engineer Dr. Ochoma? The issue of inequity that, people of the Southeast in particular, always cry over. How would you speak about that? Should you win the election?
Okay. The great Greek philosopher Aristotle posited that the state exists for the public good and continues to exist for the good of humanity. Any society that sets out by way of default or design to change a section of its population cannot go further. You see, the composition of the National Assembly, by all its intent and purpose, was skewed for an ulterior motive. You cannot say that the House of Reps, that the composition is based on population. If it says so, you'll be making a great mistake. This year's voters, let's not even talk about the population. By the way, one of the bills I'm going to sponsor is the bill to make state of origin, as it were, by belt, by origin, or by residency, part of the details of the national population. Let's see why people should be shortchanged because of their ethnicity or otherwise. Now, like Honorable Prestige said, you cannot allow a situation where a state or two of the Federation has higher composition in the National Assembly more than an entire region. Is unacceptable. By whatever formula, population or otherwise, you must make sure that there's an equity. So we are going to be moving that the population details include state of ethnicity and religion. Secondly, I quite agree with him, independence candidacy is a must. It's part of the bill we have indicated we are going to be pushing for. The Constitution must be amended. We cannot continue to leverage on what the military handed over to us to perpetually put some section down and perpetually promote some ethnic interests. It's not acceptable. So we are going to be moving for these bills. And we are going to be looking into part of the function of the legislature is to alter or to correct the defects in existing laws. And there are such existing laws that have defects. We are going to be pushing for the amendments to ensure that every section is equally represented at the National Assembly. And I agree that if we even talk about the Senate, it's still not equitably distributed. A section has 19 states, another section has 17. And if you go back to pre-independence, you discover that some of these sections have been splitted, some of the areas have been splitted for about 5, 6, 7 times, and others have not been splitted once. Southeast has 5 states. Go back and discover what was the details there. So these are things we are going to be addressing in our only 2 ways.
All right. In your earlier submission, in the first segment of this program, you did talk about the cost of governance in Nigeria. Now let's bring it up now to the issue of unicameral and bicameral legislatures. Which would you opt for if given the chance through the ballot papers and then you're in the House? Which would you opt for?
The present Nigerian state calls for bicameral legislation. There's no doubt about that. If you have a unicameral legislation, let's just say Federal House of Representatives, how would that happen? Where a section has more than 60% already. So other people are thrown out. Other people are out. But the bicameral legislation, it's to bring in some element of checks and balances, because no one, like somebody said here, is above the other. Any law or any bill that is passed at one house or one chamber must of a necessity be sent to the second chamber for concurrent passage. So, in the present realities of Nigeria, we need bicameral legislation. The cost notwithstanding, the cost of remunerations can come down by way of bringing in the cost of governance and politics. But we need bicameral legislation.
Thank you very much, Engineer. And you may have to take a seat. Let me start the next question with Right Honorable O.C. Prestige. Sir, given some of the events that have taken place in the country concerning INEC, do you trust that they can carry out this election very well?
Yes.
And what are your greatest fears as we go into the election?
Yeah, I think INEC is prepared. And from what the chairman of INEC have said and all the lieutenants, I think they are very well prepared.
So my question is, do you trust them to carry out a credible election?
Oh, yes. Yes, I say yes, I do. That's why I said from the guidelines they released, I think they're going to carry out a credible election. And also the security agencies chiefs have been also speaking in that same vein, that the election they will be very free, it will be very fair to all in the course of carrying out their respective duties. So I think from every indication, INEC is going to conduct a free and fair election.
So you don't have any fears concerning the election?
The only fear I might say is that the politicians themselves have refused to understand or read the handwriting on the wall. Politics is all about your people voting for you, but not you forcing people that you must be in office. My fear has to do with the intolerable state of some political parties and political actors. Some of them believe in violence. I have it in good authority. Most of them attended important talks that will come and disrupt the elections in the state and in the city. Some of them have gone into the extent of even attacking us. I was attacked on the 16th of December, and 7 of my vehicles destroyed for just flagging off a road project. My vehicles were attacked, all the glasses, everything. You saw it on the social media. So my fear is that the politicians have not learned their lessons. And you cannot force people to love you. Everybody have his own take. everybody will not like you. If the people have rejected you in one form or the other, just quietly go home. The advice I have for is to the politicians, because the electors are ready to elect the leaders of their choice. But we, the politicians, want to force ourselves to be into office by applying so many means to be there, which includes violence and some other crimes. And even to the extent of trying to bribe some people in order to curry favor for them to win elections. So it is not all about the electorate. It's all about the politicians. But I'm sure the electoral umpires and the security agencies are ready for this election. But a word of advice is to we, the politicians, that we should please play the game according to the rules. And it is not by force that you be in office. Once the people don't want you, quietly go home. If they don't want me tomorrow, I'll go and face my business. If you don't have a business to do like some of us don't have, please go to your village and you can start farming. There's no village, anybody that don't have farm in his village. That is what I think we should do. And if we do that, it's going to save us a lot of stress so that people will just come, win elections, and be elected for them to govern their people.
Honorable O.C. Prestige, it has been said a lot of times that politicians who are the greatest beneficiaries of elections do not motivate the electorate in terms of registration and even where they have registered collection of PVCs. Such has been the case of your state, Abia. What can you do going forward to ensure that there is more political education and enlightenment to the extent that people know the power of the PVC to change the narrative?
To be very honest, we have been doing that. I have been doing it. I know the number of messages I've sent to the media houses in Aba in that respect. I've also employed the services of the town criers to go into markets. I've also done a lot of public relations to even people who feel they don't have the means to go to those areas to collect their PVCs. But like I said, most of them, who even have PVCs, do not even have the motivation. They don't have the interest to go and vote. It's not just all about collecting PVCs. It's also about educating those who have collected to find time to go and vote. Because some of them believe that after voting, we, the politicians, will go and rig the election against their will. So the voter education should be extended, which is what we are doing, to enable them know that it's not going to be business as usual. Because some of those who live by rigging the election have seen that that thing is not just cast on the stone. It can disappoint you. And if it can disappoint you, means that you're not sure of it. So the voter education we are doing is not just about collecting PVC. It's all about making you come out on that day and vote for the candidate of your choice. And when that is done, it's going to give us more numbers of people that voted. I remember last election, there was about 30-something% of the registered voters that voted. A situation that we have 30-something% is not in any way giving us what we want. But if we have up to 70-80%, that's exactly what it should be. So our voters' education extends to those who already have their PVC. And also to those who people are poaching to buy PVCs from. If truly you want to represent your people, if you really want to govern your people, why do you need to go and buy their PVCs? Because you see they are vulnerable. You think they are hungry. All what you could do is to buy them from the money that was made available for you to provide infrastructure and other things for them. But because you refuse to do that, you are accumulating the money, buying PVCs. So our sensitization also gets to the extent where we tell them, do not sell your PVC for whatever it worth. That 5,000, 10,000, even people you don't believe can even engage in that, have recruited people, jobless people all over, to be carrying registers to markets, calling people before they pay salaries and all this, for them to bring their PVCs, for them to get whatever is due to them. I think we should also understand that this is no longer business as usual. We should do it in such a manner that we leave something for our younger ones, our younger generations, our children, to be quit, not just bringing criminality into the political system. And this will not help us in any way.
All right, let's ask this one very quickly from Engineer Dr. Ochoma. By omission or commission, there is this belief in Nigeria that some parties are strong parties or big parties and the others are weak parties. The UPP, which is your party, It is not for me here to say it is weak or strong, big or small. But what do you think are your chances of winning the election to represent your people in the House of Representatives in the coming election? Your chances.
Okay. Let me make this clear before I answer directly your question. The hunger in the land has been systematically orchestrated by the political elites as a tool to hold the people down. Yeah, there are big parties all over the world, and there are small parties. In America, there are big parties. The two big parties. Nigeria, there are big parties. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about, this is a local position. Aruchukwu is a local position. The people should know who can represent them better, regardless of the political platform. I may be an underdog in this election, but I want to say this, that this is a mission that is sanctioned by God. And the story of David and Goliath would be rewritten. The story of David and Goliath, or the story of Hezekiah the king and the Assyrian king, will be rewritten. When this to show that righteousness can reign in politics and in governance. The people the people of Nigeria, the people of Abia State, the people of Aruchukwu Ohafia have no reason to be in the kind of abject poverty we are seeing today, in the midst of plenty. Maxwell says everything rises and falls under leadership. And because of the series of previous bad leadership, that's where why we are where we are today. But we are going to change those ugly narratives by making sure that the people see the truth. I have been preaching, and I call my rallies preaching. Wherever I went,
okay, like I said, my name is Destiny Isigzo. I want to ask, and I'm directing my first question to Honorable O.C. Prestige. What are you going to do regarding the issue of local government autonomy as regarding fiscal policy? What we have recently is a situation where the state government hijacks whatever subvention that is meant for the local government. And as such, we see limited development at the grassroots. What are you going to do in terms of legislation regarding local government authority? To the other gentleman, I want to ask, how are you going to ensure that, for instance, if your party wins, if you win as a candidate, and then we have a different party at the state level, for instance, if you win and then PDP wins or APC wins at the state level, how are you going to ensure there is cooperation irrespective of party differences?
You have violated I will say one question. I will take only one question from you. Yes?
Well, my name is Comrade Wokota Anozino Sain. I'm the Executive Director, Initiative for ID Development and Emancipatory Leadership in Nigeria, ID Nigeria to be precise. Well, my question is very simple. I just want to know, because most of the times it's as if when we talk about political debate, political presentation and all that, it's becoming more like a ritual, annual ritual. And when it becomes an annual ritual, it's more like a situation where people come in, they just listen to, if I may call it, some of the, what the politicians has in store to dish out to the people. I'm coming from the civil society perspective. My major concern is about the community engagement. So my question directly is this. Sir, what is your strategy or the strategies you have already put in place to further permeate the system, to further reach out to the public, because they are the major target here. Whatever we are doing here at the end of the day, without recourse to the rural populace, without recourse to the people, community at large, it's as if we are just repeating the mistake of yesterday. So tell us strategically the modus that you have developed with which you are going to reach out to the public, carry them along, more especially with respect to, town hall meetings and the rest of them. Thank you.
Please make your questions short.
I'm Godson Ibekumelo. I'm a social entrepreneur. Recently, the President Buhari, came to Abia and launched a power plant somewhere in Nigeria, a very small power plant indeed. And we all know that Aba is an economic hub of Abia State and indeed the Southeast. And we are aware there is a very huge independent power plant, the Geometrics plant, which is capable of giving power to Aba and indeed a good chunk of the Southeast. What effort do you people have in place, particularly the honorable member representing Aba South, to work with other stakeholders to make sure that that project is made to hit the land running? Praise the Lord.
Let me give to a lady for gender sensitivity.
Thank you so much. My name is Promise Adanwaba. I came from Osusu Village. Osusu Village is in Aba North, LGA. Honorable member, representing Aba North and South, I have come to ask the reasons, though someone has mentioned about it, but haven't come here because of this particular thing. I think I have to stay my mind. Okay, sorry. My question is that we in Aba North, as in the rural women and men, that is the communities, we don't see or get the importance or see your presence in our communities. That is why I am here to say or to ask why. We are your constituents. We know that Aba North is also the areas you are taking part of. And all you've been saying is that about Ngwa Road, Port Harcourt Road. Please, we at Aba North, we think that we need the federal presence in our communities. Thank you.
Let's, before they forget the questions, okay? Let them answer these ones. Maybe we'll take another one if time permits. Thank you.
We can understand why these questions are being targeted at Honorable Prestige OC, because they are interfacing now with their man. Our dear brother Ochoma is from far away, Arochukwu Hafia. So unless we have Arochukwu people here, or general political question, and I think Honorable Prestige would understand that. May you come to the podium, at least the first 3 questions.
Thank you very much. Is it the answer that push it down or the questions? Two minutes per question. Okay, local government autonomy and what I'll do to ensure financial autonomy. I voted for financial autonomy of all local governments during the debate at the National Assembly. The problem we have, let the electorate get this right, that you have a duty. You have a duty to understand where your problem is coming from. The problem we have is with the state assemblies. At the National Assembly, we passed financial autonomy that will give the local government autonomy, and also passed the amendment of the electoral law, instead of the State Electoral Commission handling local government elections, let it go back to INEC. It has been frustrated by the state assemblies. The governors call them and induce them, and they will even sign their own death warrant and collect peanuts. That's the reason why the electorates should be very, very careful in whom they are going to elect into the State House of Assemblies. These people that you people think are representing you are representing themselves. That is the only reason where we are today. There is no local government in Abia State that do not get over 100 million. Some get 200 and something million from the federation account every month. And these monies are not in any way plowed back to the local government for their own development. These monies are somewhere filtered away by those who are pretending over those monies. So it is your duty to ensure that the person you are electing to represent your House of Assembly is somebody who can go to his house as a community, as a leader, to ask questions. Why is it that local governments are not given the opportunity to handle their finances? That is the only way we can get development to our rural areas. The second question was about the modus of reaching out to the communities. I have, since I entered into office, 2015, had 4 town hall meetings. Each year, I have a town hall meeting to ask my constituents what they want me to do in the next budget. I do it before budget and after budget. And I will get opinions on the areas where they feel I should represent their interests during the budget session. And I've been doing that consistently. I've also engaged in talking to the communities one after the other in terms of consultations when I have national issues, that I need to consult them with. The issue of the launching of the small generating plant, I'm happy the President Buhari came here to commission it. Before he came, some other people were taking glory that they have given our area light, whereas it was a federal government project. The federal government project in our area is just for our area as a market. The geometrics have an issue that 2 minutes given to me will not be able to, explain it to you. But the summary of it is that there is an understanding between the federal government and EEDC. Federal government sold the entire Abia, Aba environment, including Owerenta, Isialangwa, to EEDC. So this one is another area where there is the money that geometrics should pay to EEDC before they will be allowed to pay, just like paying them back. I think that is the issue that they have been trying to resolve within these 3 years. So we all know, and I have been part and parcel of trying to see how they can resolve that. Professor Barton, just last week we also met in Abuja over the issue. And I want to assure you that since I came into office, it has been one of the things I've been hammering on, because I know that is the only way we in Aba can have energy to do all the things that we need to do in Aba, especially our small-scale industries. And for my sister, who asked question about Aba North, I want to say that there is no difference between what projects I attract in Aba North and the one in Aba South. But I said that we have more rural areas in Ungwa Road and Port Harcourt Road area than the other side. And that I bought graders, and those graders have been working in those areas from 2015 till now to enable them have access road out. To let you understand what I mean, I attracted the road, the salad market road, that they call the station road. And that job was done up to 80% before the state government drove the contractors away from the site. That they gave that contract to some people over 3 years ago, and that they're coming to do it. It was in Aba South. At the moment, by next week, I'm going to commission a 33-liter water solar borehole at our area. I also want to say that I contributed immensely to this thing going on, the one that the president launched in area last week. These are all projects from Aba North. And there are so many more things. Even the grading of the roads that I talked about in Ungwa Road, I also did a lot, even including the Wamba, where she comes from, and Wala Street, Okwa Avenue, Ngozi Avenue, and the whole of that area. There is no year I don't do it. I've also given about 4 transformers. The last one was the one at Imo Avenue by Power Line. That one I will commission it before the end of this week. A lot of projects have gone on in Abanot. The SDMA water, I will commission it by Friday this week. You can come there and find out that I did a 1,000 liter water borehole for SDMA community, and so on and so forth. So there is no difference between the way I treat Abanot and South, but I look at those areas that need a particular service more, and I go to that area to do it. Even the Orata community where I built primary school and did borehole in Umuogo and Orata, they're all in Abanot. So I don't have any specific area that have not, that I have special interest, but I do it based on needs assessment of the people. If there is anything you think that should be done in your area that have not been done, it is your opportunity to re-elect me again and then bring up that thing and see whether I will not do it before the next session like this comes up.
Okay. Thank you. We take 3 more questions. Yes, one here, and one there. Okay? It's an agreement. Yes.
My name's Comrade Ben Sichibike Munoye. My question goes in this way. I thank the legislator for Aba North and Aba Federal Constituency for his wonderful presentation and the functions. So my question goes in this way. Sometimes we keep on hearing about fire outbreak within Ukwangwa market and Ade. So, and this fire outbreak normally comes when people are not always aware. Sometimes it could be at night, it could be at the morning. Keep on hearing over the news at Magic FM or even public radios about the fire outbreak. But my suggestion and my question goes in this way. And when this thing happened, there's one thing that normally happens within Aba North and Aba Federal Constituency. Whenever it occurs, the firefighters, that is the fire service men, firefighters, they don't normally, they are not always punctual. So I want to find out that can it be possible for us to, to monitor this, to have more fire service within Aba North and Aba South Federal, Aba North and Aba South, so that whenever it occurs, that is my suggestion.
Please make your questions short and sharp. Who is the person here?
Okay. My name is Imakalo. Please, I want to stand on existing protocol. Please, this question goes to OC Prestige. Sometime you were talking about devolution of powers. That was when you said about the financial autonomy. My question has to do with this. Our problem we are having in Nigeria, does it have to do with the constitution or the constitutionality? That is the application of the constitution. Please, that question goes to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Honorable sir, as a legislator, federal legislator representing Aba North, Aba South, and one of the duties of the legislator is to have oversight functions on organizations or industries, whatever. There is a rumor going around the town that you are in the committee for customs and duties. And it is assumed that the cost of clearing goods in the southern part of Nigeria is higher in amount than what it is in clearing goods in the southwest. And that is why everybody now runs to the southwest to go and clear their goods. So what are you going to do, since you are there representing the people, and you realize that most people here are importers from this part of the zone? So what will you be doing when we re-elect you?
Let's allow them to answer this. Allow him to answer this.
Thank you. About the fire service. Yes, that is what it used to be. We used to have one fire service at Constitution Crescent, and the second one, that is for Aba South, and the second one at Area.
But I want to say here that the one in our area has been closed down and converted to shops by the government of Abia State. So that is why it is also very difficult for you to assess them. Even the one in Aba South, I came to Magic FM sometime last month to plead with the government. So please assist the fire service people to discharge their duties creditably. What happened? On that 16th of December that I went to Rata that they attacked me, on my way back at Ariaria, I saw a 2-story building being gutted by fire. And 5 minutes into that, they threw down a little child that burned to ashes. And they said that the father went upstairs to rescue the children. Ostensibly, they were sleeping. And he was only able to throw down that one. And in fact, he threw the first one that was alive. But the little child landed on the floor from the second floor and was alive. Through the second one, that one had already been roasted. And himself was also, he couldn't find his way out. And the man was roasted. By the time I came, started calling fire service, it took them over 30 minutes. They told me that they don't have gas to come to Ariaria. I had to send one of my boys to take them to filling station, paid for the gas before they came. So it is not just all about even the one that is there, are they being financed? When I asked them, they told me that it was in August that they were giving money last. I am not politicking, God knows what I'm saying. So it is just a duty of the government to provide these things for the people. And also, I attracted water boreholes in cemetery markets, in Ayohoro, and most markets in Aba, because I know they don't have any, in case there's any fire outbreak. But the government of the state said, you are not going to allow you to do it. So it's about the will on the part of the government to allow us to do those things that will benefit the people. It's not benefiting me, but for the people, so that you can all grow as a society. The issue of devolution of powers. I am one of the scholars that believe that power should be devolved from the center. There are too many powers that is given to the center. That's exactly what informed my position during all the votes, all the debates on local government autonomy. Because that is the fulcrum, that is the basis, that is the foundation of development. If you remove local government, you cannot develop an area. And in every local government, those days, local governments have maintenance department, works maintenance, they have health, they have all the departments that are also available at the state and the federal levels. But at the moment, because of the Constitution, let me answer you, it is an amendment of the Constitution that will require to get these things done. Because of the way the Constitution is being structured by the military, which we, the politicians, have not been able to amend. That is why we still see ourselves where we are today. And so we need this from the people to support the constitutional amendment. That will make you, anybody you are electing to represent you at the federal level, give it to him as a condition that if you are electing, you promise us that you are going to canvass for this. And if all of us at National Assembly canvasses for it, I want to assure you that we will have development in all our communities to an extent that we will not even think of any federal house member coming to buy graders or coming to bring transformers, because those things will be made available by the local government, because they are all provided these funds for this particular thing. But because they go to what they call jack, where they jack all the money to the state government and just give them peanuts to pay salaries and have a little of interest that they will now use to service their offices. My brother talked about customs. I am a member of the customs committee. But you see, because of people's inability to understand the workings of the National Assembly, that is why some of those who say they are contesting House of Reps do not know the difference between a House member's job, what you have to do as in an oversight function, and what instant laws say. The difference between the instant laws of the Federation and what you should do as in an oversight. As a member, and by the special grace of God, I am a shipping agent. I'm a shipping magnate. I know what it means. Duties, the cost of clearing is predicated on three things. One, the cost of the goods. Two, the freight. And three, insurance. They call it CIF. The freight from China, for instance, to Lagos is about
$1,500. But from China to Port Harcourt, sometimes $3,700. This I have been speaking against over 10 years ago, that it is a deliberate policy of the federal government to shortchange the Easterners. And I have been saying it time without number. And until these things are corrected, duties are calculated based on these three premises. So if the cost of your goods to land in Lagos might be 1 million, it might cost you 1.2, 1.3 for you to land here. Secondly, the issue of security. In the last 5 months, I have gone to Lagos more than 5 times over the issue of security in Nigerian waters, Tone. For now, vessels take 8 weeks, 9 weeks for you to come to Tone, as against 4 weeks, 5 weeks. It takes sometimes 10 weeks or 12 weeks because of the insecurity in the waters. They hijacked several ships and hijacked even the crew at the same time. So for them to come to Tone is a problem. So those things they added some cost in terms of security and all that. But that does not mean that I am sitting while these things happen. I have been adding my voice to make sure that the cost comes down. So when people say that I should be the one that even added the money, I keep seeing them as people who are ignorant of what the job of a legislator is at this point in time.
All right. Just before we wind up, we'd like to call on Engineer Dr. Choma once again to particularly talk about the Constitution and, of course, constitutionality. Our laws seem to be okay on paper, some may say, whether inherited or not, but the practice, double standard, and all of that. What is your view about that, just before we wind up?
You see, whatever we do, whether in government or out of government, we must be careful, because if at any point in time you tailor policies or laws to favor a section over the other, along the line people will rebel. Like we all know, I don't think that we truly, in the right sense of it, have a constitution, because the 1999 constitution that we are still operating today was handed over by the military, written by a few persons. In fact, some have suggested that it was written by one professor from the north and handed over to the military. You cannot expect the people in all states to go by such law. There are a lot of laws in the Nigerian constitution. The lawyers will tell you. And like Honorable Osi has pointed out, there is an urgent need to amend the Nigerian constitution. There are a lot of loopholes here and there. Unfortunately, for 20 years, we have sending to the National Assembly. They've been collecting monies by way of salary and consolidated allowances, but have failed to deliver on their prime mandate of altering the text in our laws. There are a lot of them. For instance, we talk about the state of origin. My grandfather migrated to Port Harcourt in the 80s. My father was born around 1908. And then you see not an indigenous of Port Harcourt, have any rights, and stuff like that. And meanwhile, from generation to generation, we have contributed to the growth of the particular society. You don't do that in a society and expect the society to progress. So we should be telling ourselves the truth, and that is what we'll be doing in our own little way. That there is need to amend the relevant sections of the Constitution that impede development, that impede justice and equity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer, for your comment on that question. Thank you also, Right Honorable O.C. Prestige. So far, I think we are about to come to the end of this Okay, before we round off, we'll give you a minute or two to say something to the constituencies you are going to represent. So I'll start with you, the UNPP candidate, Engineer Dr. Steve Ochoma, please.
Manu. You know, I said earlier that the story that will be told on the 16th of this month at Taruchuku and Ohafia is the story of David and Goliath. You hear people say, this party all the way, that party all the way, that party all the way. No, that's not what we should be talking about at this age and time in our development. You don't clothe a goat and expect us to vote the goat because it belongs to your party or because it's coming from your party. If you go home, if you're not conversant with the story of David and Goliath, go home and read it. When David was presented before the king, they tried to array him in their own armor. He said, I've not proven this. He went by the way he knew. And the story ended miraculously, that the underdog became the champion. We have been propelled, we have been divinely projected to contest this election. And I can assure you that I'm going to emerge victorious. And the people will rejoice because I'm bringing a mandate of the people that will liberate the people from the hands of the political hawks in my constituency and in Abia State generally. This state has been held down for too long. The criminal rot must be cleansed. We can do the little we can do to change the ugly narrative. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you, Engineer Dr. Steve Ochoma, for representing your constituency in this presentation and debate. We'll now hear from you, Right Honorable O.C. Prestige. Thank you.
I want to first thank the Aba, North and South constituents for finding me worthy in 2015. And I know that between 2015 and now, Aba people have seen the difference between Ebe and Ebe. That from 1999, we have been having people who only have their own interests, not the interests of the people. My appeal to Aba people is that you don't go back to Egypt. Don't throw away your vote. In 2015, you all expressed yourself by making sure that I win. Not just that I win, you also came out. When they came with their money bags, when they came with their Ghana must go money at Aba Town Hall, to persuade you to change your mind, you all stood by me. And that was why I was able to retain the mandate you gave me. Please, next week, Saturday, 16th of February, come out in more numbers than you did in 2015, where all the votes of the opponents put together was not up to 50% of what I had. Come out this time around and vote for me to make sure that I will give you all that I have in stock for you. What you have seen in the first 4 years is just the tip of the iceberg. By next assembly, I am going to give you what you never expected as a federal house member. It is a contract I've signed with God, and a contract I'm sure you people have also sealed. So come out in your numbers. Don't sell your vote. They have told us they have enough money they accumulated over the years from Agric, from constituency projects they refuse to do, and from Binti for staff and all that, to bribe you to vote for them. Please, collect the money from them. About people, collect. Shine your eye. Collect from them because it is your money. It is not their money. It is our money, and then vote them out so that we can retire all those who have been holding our general interest to ransom in the last so many years. Thank you very much, and God bless you as you vote for me come February 16th, 2019.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Right Honorable O.C. Prestige. This is a debate and presentation brought to you live by Abia Media Roundtable, powered by NTA Channel 6 Aba, MCLtv, PBS TV, Act TV, Buzz FM, Magic FM, and Iwere TV online. We thank you so much for your time, your patience in staying tuned live to this program. I'll hand over to you now, Bonnie, to do the...
Well, what more can I say? I think more of the appreciation should go to the wonderful audience that found time to be here in spite of their busy schedule. We want to thank you, and we want all of you to be involved in the process. For if all of us come together and we checkmate the excesses of some of our politicians in this country, we may end up having the Nigeria that we deserve. We thank the technical crew. We thank in particular Mr. Mike Ofonye, who has been indefatigable. We thank Chief Ogwo. We thank Mr. Chimdi Oluoha, my very beautiful black mama here. Okay. James of Igwere Television, I thank you. All members of Abia Media Roundtable, we thank you. For the last 3-4 months, we've had sleepless nights just to ensure that today became a reality, and indeed it has been. Let me also remind us that on the 21st of February, there will be the governorship session of this program. Again, let's thank you, gentlemen, for coming, and may God bless you. 16th beckons, and may God be the judge at the end of the day. On behalf of all of us, I am Bonnie Onogu, thanking you for being here. God bless you.
Yeah. Oh, na 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 na, yeah. Don't you believe that I want you? I need you here in my arms. Oh no, you won't have to worry. I'll spend each day in your charms. Oh, I wanna kiss you all over, running my hands through your hair. Oh, I know a place where love is. I'll keep you warm night and day in the love zone. You don't have to be alone. Together we can live and learn in the love zone. Come rest your head on my shoulder, and we'll count the stars in the night. I wanna feel you beside me, oh, just holding you tight. I wanna give you a little tenderness, letting you know that your love